Chosen one, God said, in all of history, nobody has ever done what you just did, nobody. Let that settle. Not because it sounds dramatic, but because it's true in a way most people never understand. You're not here to repeat a path. You're not here to copy a pattern. You're not here to live out a script that's already been written. You did something different, and it wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't something the world stopped to applaud. But it mattered. Because while others followed what was familiar, you stepped into something uncertain. While others chose comfort, you chose growth. While others waited for permission, you moved forward anyway. That's what makes it rare. People think greatness is about big moments, spotlights, recognition, applause. But real transformation, it happens in decisions no one sees, in discipline no one celebrates, in choices that don't make sense to anyone except the person making them. You made one of those choices. You walked away when it would have been easier to stay. You stayed focused when it would have been easier to quit. You believed when there was no proof, and that's why this moment exists. Because history doesn't repeat itself through those who conform. It expands through those who break patterns. You broke one. Maybe it was a cycle in your life. Maybe it was a mindset you carried for years. Maybe it was a limitation you were taught to accept. But you didn't accept it anymore. And that decision changed everything. You may not see the full impact yet. In fact, most people don't immediately. When you do something that's never been done in your personal world, it doesn't come with instant clarity. It comes with silence, with distance, with moments where you question if it even mattered. But it did. Because the moment you choose differently, you create a new direction. And new directions don't always feel comfortable at first. They feel unfamiliar. They feel uncertain. They feel like you're stepping into something without a map. But that's exactly where growth lives. You weren't meant to follow a path that already exists. You were meant to create one. That's why it feels this way. That's why things don't look the same anymore. That's why certain people don't understand you anymore. That's why your mindset doesn't match your old environment anymore. You shifted. And when you shift internally, your external world has to catch up. But here's where most people go wrong. Right after they do something rare, they go back. They second-guess it. They doubt it. They try to return to what feels familiar. And in doing that, they undo the very thing that made them different. But you're not going to do that. You're going to hold your position. Because you understand something now that you didn't before. You don't need validation for what you've already proven to yourself. You don't need approval for a decision that brought you closer to who you're becoming. You don't need recognition for something that was never meant to be public in the first place. What you did wasn't for them. It was for you, for your growth, for your evolution, for the version of you that refused to stay the same. And that version, it's not going anywhere. In fact, it's getting stronger. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, it grows. Every time you choose focus over noise, it grows. Every time you choose belief over doubt, it grows. And eventually, it becomes undeniable. That's when the results show up. Not as something random, but as a reflection of who you've become. And when that happens, people will look at you and think it happened overnight. They'll think it was luck. They'll think it was timing. They'll think it was something external. But you'll know the truth. It started with a decision. A quiet, powerful decision that nobody saw. The moment you did something different. The moment you broke the pattern. The moment you chose growth over comfort. That's the moment everything changed. So don't minimize it. Don't overlook it. Don't act like it was small, because it wasn't. In all of history, nobody has done exactly what you just did in the way you did it. Not with your mindset. Not with your experience, not with your perspective, and that uniqueness, that's your power. So protect it. Don't dilute it by trying to fit in again. Don't question it just because it feels unfamiliar. Don't abandon it just because others don't understand it. Stay with it, because what you've started isn't finished yet. It's expanding. It's building. It's turning into something bigger than you can currently see. And the only thing required from you now is consistency. Keep going. Keep choosing differently. Keep thinking at a higher level. Keep acting in alignment with who you're becoming. Because the version of you that made that rare decision is the same version of you that will finish what you started. God said, "Nobody has ever done what you just did. So don't go back to being who you were. Move forward as who you've become. because that's where everything you've been working for is waiting. Unique decisions create uncommon outcomes. This keynote emphasizes that real progress often comes from choices that go against customary patterns and expectations. When you act differently from what is familiar, you open the door to results that most people never experience. Understanding this helps you value your individuality and trust decisions that align with growth rather than comfort. Internal breakthroughs are more significant than external recognition. The speech highlights that the most important transformations happen within through mindset shifts, discipline, and self-awareness. Even if others do not immediately notice these changes, they form the foundation for long-term success and personal evolution. Consistency after a breakthrough is what sustains progress. Making one powerful decision is important, but continuing to act in alignment with that decision is what truly creates lasting change. This teaches the importance of maintaining focus and discipline even after initial progress is made. Growth requires confidence without validation. As you evolve, not everyone will understand your choices or support your direction. This keynote explains that relying on your own judgment, rather than external approval, strengthens your independence and allows you to move forward with clarity and purpose. Unique decisions often feel uncomfortable because they challenge familiar patterns and expectations. Most people operate within familiar boundaries, repeating actions that feel safe and predictable. While this approach provides a sense of security, it also limits the range of possible outcomes. When you choose to act differently, whether by taking a new path, changing your mindset, or stepping away from what is comfortable, you begin to break that cycle. This is where uncommon results start to form. Acting outside of customary behavior requires awareness and courage. It means recognizing that the results you want may not come from doing what you have always done. Instead of following customary reactions, you pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your long-term goals. This shift in decision-making allows you to move beyond limitations that once held you back. It is also important to understand that unique decisions are not always immediately rewarded. In many cases, they lead to uncertainty or temporary discomfort. However, this phase is part of the process. By staying committed to a different approach, you begin to create new patterns of thinking and action. Over time, these patterns produce outcomes that stand apart from the average. Valuing your individuality plays a key role in this process. When you trust your perspective and make decisions based on your own understanding, you build confidence in your ability to navigate challenges. This reduces dependence on external approval and encourages independent thinking. Ultimately, choosing a different path is what separates ordinary progress from meaningful growth. By consistently making decisions that align with your vision rather than traditional habits, you expand your potential and create opportunities for results that are both distinctive and lasting. Internal breakthroughs often go unnoticed because they do not produce immediate visible results, yet they are the most critical part of meaningful growth. These breakthroughs occur when your thinking evolves, when you begin to see yourself and your circumstances differently, and when you replace limiting beliefs with more constructive perspectives. While external recognition may validate progress, it is the internal shift that truly determines the direction of your future. Many people focus heavily on outcomes such as achievements, status, or approval from others. However, without a strong internal foundation, these external results are difficult to sustain. When your mindset remains unchanged, old patterns of thinking can eventually lead you back to père, hier, j'ai, hier behaviors. In contrast, when a genuine internal change takes place, it influences your decisions, habits, and reactions in a consistent way, creating long-term stability. An important aspect of internal breakthroughs is self-awareness. By reflecting on your thoughts and behaviors, you begin to understand what needs to change. This awareness allows you to take responsibility for your growth rather than depending on external circumstances. Over time, you develop a clearer sense of direction and purpose. It is also essential to recognize that internal progress often requires patience. Because these changes are not immediately visible, it can feel as though nothing is happening. However, every shift in perspective strengthens your ability to handle challenges and make better decisions. This quiet development eventually translates into visible results. Ultimately, internal breakthroughs lay the groundwork for lasting success. They ensure that when external achievements do come, they are supported by a mindset capable of maintaining and building upon them, leading to continuous and sustainable growth. Consistency after a breakthrough is what turns a single moment of progress into lasting transformation. It is easy to feel motivated right after making an important decision or experiencing a shift in mindset. However, without continued effort, that initial progress can fade, and old patterns may gradually return. This is why consistency is not just important, it is essential for maintaining and building on what you have already achieved. A breakthrough often changes how you think, but consistency ensures that your actions reflect that new way of thinking. It requires you to repeat behaviors that align with your goals, even when motivation is low or results are not immediately visible. This might involve maintaining discipline, following routines, or making choices that support long-term growth instead of short-term comfort. One of the key challenges during this phase is resisting the urge to revert to familiar habits. Familiar behaviors can feel easier, especially when progress seems slow. However, returning to old patterns can weaken the impact of the breakthrough. By staying consistent, you reinforce the new direction you have chosen and gradually make it your default way of operating. Consistency also builds momentum. Small, repeated actions accumulate over time, creating measurable progress. As this momentum grows, it becomes easier to stay committed because you begin to see the results of your efforts. This reinforces your confidence and strengthens your belief in the process. Ultimately, a breakthrough is only the beginning. It opens the door to change, but consistency is what allows you to walk through that door and continue moving forward. By committing to ongoing effort and discipline, we can achieve great things. You transform temporary progress into sustainable growth and long-term success. In conclusion, meaningful growth is shaped by the willingness to think and act differently, the strength of internal transformation, and the discipline to remain consistent over time. When you make unique decisions that break traditional patterns, you open the door to outcomes that go beyond the ordinary. These choices may feel uncertain at first, but they create new directions that lead to greater possibilities. At the same time, internal breakthroughs provide the foundation for lasting success. When your mindset evolves, your actions, habits, and decisions begin to align with a higher level of awareness. This inner change ensures that progress is not temporary, but sustainable and continuously improving. However, it is consistency that ties everything together. Without it, even the most powerful decisions and insights can lose their impact. By staying committed to your new direction and reinforcing positive behaviors, you build momentum that turns potential into real results. Together, these elements create a strong and balanced approach to growth. You become more independent in your thinking, more stable in your progress, and more focused on long-term success. Ultimately, it is not one single moment that defines your journey, but the combination of thoughtful decisions, internal development, and consistent action that leads to meaningful and lasting achievement.